The Parami or perfection is there to be given, to be shared, to be for the blessing. It is not to be kept for the sake of oneself, because it is in the state of anicca dukkha anatta. If it's kept within, it will be suffering, praying in order to have more, just like grasping for something that is not about grasping. Parami, perfection, is the power for the blessing, for sharing. Otherwise, it's going to be like a double-edged sword. It has Vedana and hindrances within itself. Merits as well is the same, has suffering in itself. Even happiness is also suffering, is called a kind of unbearable Vedana in the state of anicca dukkha anatta, always changing, unable to sustain, and has non-self, meaningless in itself. Even happiness is suffering in itself, having less suffering. Therefore, it's called happiness or comfort. It's a kind of subtle suffering, less suffering. That's why it's called comfort. Actually, it is a kind of subtle suffering. It is under the nature of anicca dukkha anatta. Merit is a kind of state of mind. Everything is to be given, to release out and contributed, distributed. Without releasing out, it will be rotten. The same as the Parami. When it's kept within oneself, it's gonna be rotten within. It's a kind of Vedana. It's unbearable to itself, hindrance within itself. Those who are fixated to happiness is fixated to suffering actually. And the fixation is also the suffering itself as well. Therefore, you see that everything is unable to grasp it in order to share, having it in order to be shared. There is no pitfalls. Otherwise, pitfalls will be there. Grasping for something that is not grasping for something that is anatta, meaningless. Therefore, the grasping is itself the suffering. If you eat something without excretion, the guts will be just rotten. Breathing in must breathe out. Otherwise, you're gonna die. The same as Parami is not to keep it, sustain and guard it. That is a kind of dukkha vedana, suffering. That is damaging. With perfection, it's impossible to use wishes because there is double-edged sword. To wish for merits and perfection without giving, keeping within oneself, is gonna create suffering, Vedana and hindrances within oneself, always circling within oneself, blocked within oneself, unable to get over oneself, unable to get out of oneself. It's not that one cannot survive from anything. Actually, one is blocked and stuck within oneself. To enable to get over oneself, one needs to share and give. the mind as well. Once the mind is open, then one can get over one's own mind. Otherwise, just circling within one's mind, which is a kind of karmic difficulties, corrected by sharing through the minds, merits and great blessed fortune, share it towards everyone and everything, reminders that purifies through the extinction and emptiness, and able to get out of one's own mind. That is possible to get over oneself. It's like this. People are just teaching one another to do something for the sake of oneself, unable to get out of oneself. Therefore, หลวงพ่อ leads everyone to bless beings so that everyone can get out of oneself. Unable to get out of oneself is just swinging and clashing with others, not just within oneself. That is the problem, because one cannot get out of one's own mind. It's like being in one's own jail. Therefore, Lord Paul needs to lead everyone to bless beings, to open up for samsara, sharing, giving, enable to get out of oneself. Therefore, there's no suffering within oneself. All beings suffers within oneself, and also sharing that to others as well, swinging and clashing to others in such a way with suffering. And those who are lazy to open the mind towards samsara and societies and all beings, they are those who are extremely burdened, becoming the burden of societies and the world. And samsara is the burden. First, one cannot help oneself, cannot solve anything within oneself when there is no giving and sharing and sacrifices, because there is no relaxation, there is no releasing. That's impossible to solve one's own problems, because there is no way out. But those who continue to bless and give, there is always releasing automatically from oneself, whether it's suffering or it's happiness. It's releasing itself when there is purification of the projection to gain to get. Then the ventilation, the releasing is normal. There is no problem. Just like those who breathing in and breathing out, no problem. But breathing in without breathing out, that's a problem. It's like this. So the blind spot is the projection to gain, to obtain, is the habit of greed, of delusive attachment, and it is stuck within oneself. When it's coming in a lot and releasing out a little, then there will be a lot of problem. It's imbalance. There will be a lot of problems, whether it's concrete or abstract. Purify through the extinction and emptiness, then it will be without problems, beyond, all about surviving or not, getting over or not, unlike the beings, because they are still under this kind of aspect. all those Buddhas, Arahants, Bodhisattvas are beyond such aspects of getting over or not. Purified through the extinction and emptiness is beyond normal giving. It is a conclusion of all givings. It's not just about releasing, but purifying through the extinction. It's beyond releasing out. But for all beings, they are in such a status, coming in and not going out, having problems with releasing. But the reminders of the purification of extinction and emptiness, helping through cutting, is beyond getting in and getting out, beyond releases. It's not a kind of surviving, putting oneself in the state of survival. It's at the point of purifying through the extinction and emptiness. It's beyond anything. This is unexpected, that the practice for attainment is like a jail, putting oneself into no way out, into the blockage of anicca and dukkha and anatta. They are unexpected to this point. There is just the projection to obtain, to attain. When you eat a lot, but excretion is a little, however, your guts will be rotten. That's why you need to detox. Detoxify in a way that is incredible, to clear all the guts, all the projection to obtain and to give must be balanced. The power of mindfulness, concentration, contemplation, meditative power, wisdom and insights is for blessing, is not to grasp for the sake of oneself. That is like prisoning the upatan, delusive attachments itself. That's why it's called samsara, of realms of existence. This is spoiled, infatuated with those with drugs addicts, addictive drugs, earning others with sound, smell, taste, touches and shapes. With addictive drugs, they will be born as those without scales, fish without scales. Let's ahosi for all of these kinds, for everything ahosi, ahosi, realizing or not, just ahosi. Whichever realms that there are, for anyone, don't be indifferent. Purify through the extinction and emptiness simultaneously. Otherwise, one will be stuck within the prisons of suffering. When you share blessing, share to all kinds of animals, all kinds of beings under the water, also share blessing to them. On the car, in the car, use your palms. If you have less sharing the blessing, the suffering will be blocked within oneself. You won't get over yourself because you can't get out of yourself. You just circling within yourself. That's why it's called cannot survive, cannot get over oneself. Therefore, you need to open up constantly. That's the way to get out of oneself. Each oneself is so narrow. It's the most narrow, just like a small room, a narrow room. Do you know that? The point is circling within, looking, seeing and knowing, unable to get out of it. Unable to get out of seeing, knowing, thought and all that. Minds. Open up. Use the essential codes. Mind. From mind itself. Mind discarding mind itself with everything. The point is that all realms of existence can't get out of oneself, always circling within one's own self, not yet giving and sharing. Giving and taking is imbalanced, therefore is not clearing. Always grasping for stillness, indifference, and states of mind. Giving is less than taking, therefore one stuck within oneself. Only within oneself. Especially curiosity to know, the urge to know. How can one get out of it? Use the reminders, purify the purification itself, let go of the letting go itself constantly and thoroughly. Naturally, it will have nothing to do with knowing or not knowing. These will get out, possible to get out of knowing, getting out of oneself. Then it's possible to get over the getting over itself. Whatever that is given here is the answer for everything. Just use it. It's the answer for all angles of all issues of samsara, for all aspects of the samudaya. Just diligently use it. That's all. Give that it is not about grasping. In that way, it's impossible to create samsara from it, because it's impossible to grasp, giving something that is ungraspable, and involved within the involvement itself altogether. This is purification of the emptiness as giving, through the extinction of emptiness, giving that which is ungraspable. It's impossible to grasp. It is the sentence that purifies the grasping mind and involved within the uninvolvement itself. Even the uninvolvement is impossible to be grasped. The uninvolvement purifies itself. Auto-purification in the uninvolvement itself. This will be total cutting for those who still act on letting go or not letting go. Let go of the letting go itself. These societies will be given cutting continuously It will be the same essence of cutting within the cutting itself. Let go of the letting go itself. In all DNA of beings, unlike releasing the birds and the fish, because the animalistic beingness is still within oneself. With that kind of act, release the releasing itself, then end all kind of beingness within oneself. The reminders will be used to purify continuously. This will purify the dwelling, because the dwelling, the attempt to dwell, is unbearable in itself. This will purify the delusion in the attempt to dwell. Therefore, it purifies the complications in the attempt to dwell. With everything, put down the putting down itself, let go of the letting go itself. It's a kind of purifying all the attempt to dwell in all forms, trying to fixate, trying to dwell. The perfections or the Parami must be shared, because it's a kind of the state of suffering. So open up to share the perfection continuously. Mind, even from mind itself, simultaneously with it. That is helping through cutting, purify through the extinction and the emptiness. Refrain from refraining itself. It's not about refrain from anything, because when refrain from refraining itself is with everything, ending is right there for everything. Abstain from abstaining itself with everything as well. Therefore, everything is got this essence of abstaining from itself. All about karmic payback will be ended all by itself. This has nothing to make it, to end it, to finish it, to end the causes will be naturally ended. It won't be proceeded. The karma will not be proceeded. It's natural process. With everything, abstain from the abstaining itself, refrain from refraining itself. With everything, let go of the letting go itself. Put down the putting down itself. This is not